So, the episode you're about to hear is something that I recorded a couple of weeks ago. And in this recording, I'm going to tell you that I come from a country where there was a bank collapse and it changed my life forever. And my parents lost all their money and we moved to the United States, was the beginning of my journey and my entrepreneurial life. And in that recording, I also said, many of you don't believe that something like that could happen to you. And yet we have to prepare for these things and we have to think in a very grounded way of what could happen in the worst case scenario in our country. Well, who knew that after I recorded that in fact we were going to have a similar problem in the United States? Many of you by now have heard that Silicon Bank had a bit of a collapse, that the government has stepped in and this whole thing has had a ripple effect on all banks in America. And Biden had to come in and sort of guarantee people's money across the country so that we would not have mass craziness going on. So the story you're about to hear is more important than ever because the things we don't believe could happen maybe could happen to all of us. Welcome to Moneymaker, the podcast that gives you the tools to enrich your life in every sense of the word. I'm your host, Nely Galan. Let's get started. So I make a big deal about the fact that I'm an immigrant because I think it's always the first word I use to describe myself because I think it really is at the core of who I am and it is the best part of me. And I want to talk about it because I think there's a lot that can be learned from immigrants. I always like to say, which is true, that most of the CEOs of the Fortune 500 are immigrants. I don't think a lot of people know that. And there's a reason for that. I think when you're not from here and you come here and you have seen the world in a way where bad things can happen to good people and things are not quite right, and then you come here and you just feel such love and not just affection, patriotism for this country. And you really think that this country is the Holy Grail because you know where it's been worse than here, even with all the issues we talk about. And I always say that it's beautiful to be in a country where you can say whatever you want and where you can also criticize because most of the world, I don't think we realize most of the world, you cannot say anything remotely bad about your country or about anyone in it, or you go to political prison. So, I wanted to share with you my love for immigrants and some of the things that I think are inherent in us that all people can learn from for their own lives and for going forward. First of all, it's that you come here and really understand that this is such a great place. And so you're grateful. Even if you're from another country and you relate to that other country, you feel like this country is so much of a part of me. It's helping my life in such a great way that you're grateful. Number two, you really work hard because you also know from being in other parts of the world that life is hard and that people have to work hard to get to the next place. And because you didn't come here and your family didn't sacrifice so much to bring you here, for you not to give it your all, and for you not to work hard, and for you not to do something better and greater with your life. And that feeling that you have is so powerful that you almost wish you could bottle it and give it to everybody else. Even if I'll give you me as an example. I'm a woman with no money, came here with no connections, no money, nothing, was able to work myself up, was able to become self-made and build an empire. And I am, I'm nobody special, nobody famous, nobody's kid, nobody. If I grew up in any country in Latin America, if I wasn't the daughter of a billionaire or the wife of some rich guy, there is no way in hell with all my intelligence, with all my passion, that I would ever be me. Ever. It would not have happened. I think also people from other countries are just very resilient. We know, like when I go back and I visited Cuba, my family in Cuba, and I'm sure you've all heard that they have these antique cars in Cuba. Well, I go there and I get into a car that somebody's using as their Uber that's from 1950s. And the guy, the car stopped in the middle of the highway. And he's like, lady, do you have pantyhose? And he builds out of my pantyhose, you know, a thing for the, I don't even know what it's called in the car, the thing that turns, and they put it in and the car keeps going with my pantyhose. People from other countries have had to stand in line for food, don't have parts, don't have food, don't have, and guess what? They figure it out. And we're here complaining, oh my God, this and that and the other. The rest of the world lives every day solving problems, every day, resolving things, using things, and fixing things. And yet, it's not going to take them to the Holy Grail that's possible here. It's just not. So, that idea of being resilient, of being problem solving, of also just saying, knowing that life is a long distance run, that in your country, just to get from here to here might have taken you 30 years. So again, when I tell you that I start a business and for 4 years it's not working, even though I'm frustrated, I hang in there because I know life is a long distance run and it's a puzzle that reveals itself slowly. So I want you all to know these are the values that anyone can look at. So I want to leave you with some thoughts. So when I have gone around the country speaking, I often say, and now, it was so right timing because I would say to people, you don't know what it's like to for your parents to be in their late 30s and from one day to the next, literally, they have to escape their country, come here, learn a whole new language. And for so many people around the world that come here that maybe are, because we think everybody comes here, they're poor from other countries and they're coming here for money. No, a lot of people come here that are doctors and lawyers. And right now we have a Venezuelan immigration, very successful people that have lost everything. And we have people from India and China that come here that are professionals. And they come here and they start all over again to become a doctor again or to get their law degree or whatever it is, because they have to leave their country from one day to the next. And I want you all to think you don't believe it's possible that you one day could wake up and something could go so wrong in this country and you could end up living in Russia and having to learn Russian and live in a whole other different system because something terrible happens. You don't believe that's possible. And maybe Russia right now is not a place we all want to go to, but you might have to be an immigrant yourself and leave this country and that something could go wrong. And everybody would look at me like I was insane when I said that because we live in such a false security that we live in the bubble that this is the greatest country in the world, that everything is great. But I'm a history buff and I know that if you look at history, all empires have fallen. And believe me, I'm not being doom and gloom. I don't think the United States is going to fall today or ever. However, we did have an almost collapse of the banking system in 2008. We've just gone through a global pandemic, which has, I think, rocked the entire world. And if you're a history buff and you read history, you know that everything that you think cannot happen has already happened in history many times. So these kinds of values and this kind of thinking of all the things I told you about an immigrant, also that immigrants always live beneath their means because they know that math is something they can count on. That if you have money saved, it's something you can count on. The values of an immigrant really are very apropos in this moment in time and this moment in history. And I hope you really hear me because I want you all to take advantage of every moment that we are here in this amazing country and that we have the privilege to become money makers. I don't take it for granted one day of my life. And my life has not been easier as I get older. I just want you to know this is a forever journey. Being a money maker and having your mission and your money And eventually that being that money maker allows you to have the freedom to have more mission, fun, and the things you always wanted. But it is a forever grind. Forever. And you cannot take it for granted and think you're going to snap your fingers and wake up and the world is going to be an easier place. But together, when we learn from each other, when we share our experiences, I hope that you learn from me and that in some way I make your journey easier, because the problem that we all have is we don't listen to older people. I love older people. My best friends are 20 and 30 years older than me because I now listen, because I've learned the lesson that to get to the end of your life and make it just a little bit easier, that you should listen to people that have been there before you and that only have gifts to give you. I only have gifts to give you. I've been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. And I want you all to be successful and to be money makers. I have no jealousy, no nothing, because I've gotten everything I've wanted and now I want it for you.